Chapter 2. Unwanted Proximity. Their first real encounter since childhood came at a party, a gala to be precise. The Galkins were hosting it, a grand affair meant to display their latest acquisitions and opulent lifestyle. Irina, her perfect poise and grace, was the star of the night. Her beauty was like a soft halo around her, and every eye in the room was drawn to her. Theo hated these events. He hated the stilted conversations, the forced smiles, the air of superiority that everyone wore like a mask. But he found himself walking toward Irina, almost against his will. He needed to see her up close. Enjoying the show? A voice broke through his thoughts. He turned to see one of Irina's cousins, a young man trying his best to charm him. Theo barely heard the words as his eyes found Irina across the room. Her laughter, a quiet thing, was like music in the chaos of the gala. But she wasn't laughing for him. She was speaking with another guest, someone Theo had seen once or twice but didn't recognize well enough to care about. He felt a strange heat build in his chest at the thought of someone else taking her attention. Irina, of course, noticed his approach. Her lips pressed into a thin line, and her eyes, those cold blue eyes, flickered toward him with annoyance. "Theo Carver," she said, her voice as polished as ever, but laced with an edge of disdain. "I was wondering when you'd show up." "Had to make an entrance," Theo said with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. Her gaze flickered over him, and he saw a spark of recognition in her stare, a flicker of something she didn't want to admit. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Her voice was soft, but there was no mistaking the hardness behind it. "Same as you," he replied smoothly. "Family event, not like we have a choice." Her eyes narrowed. "You could always leave. You've always been good at that." The words stung more than he cared to admit, but he didn't show it. "And you've always been good at pretending to be perfect." Irina's expression faltered for just a fraction of a second, but it was enough. He saw it. The mask she wore cracked, just a little. They stood there for a moment, locked in a silent battle of wills. The years of animosity that had been drilled into them both, by their families, by tradition, hung between them, heavy as a weight neither could shake. But there was something else there now, something undeniable. Neither of them wanted to admit it, but they were both aware of the pull. "Let's not make this more uncomfortable than it already is," Irina finally said, turning away from him and moving toward the crowd. Her back was straight, her chin held high, but Theo couldn't tear his eyes away from her retreating figure.